The Dark Origins of America, from a cult enclave to a nation built on propaganda and war. The Pilgrim Fathers, a religious sect that fled modernization. The Pilgrim Fathers are often portrayed as brave settlers who sought religious freedom in the New World. However, a closer look at their history reveals that they were, in reality, a group that failed to integrate into modernizing England due to their extreme religious beliefs. Unable to adapt, they boarded the Mayflower, essentially a cult enclave, and fled to the American continent in search of isolation. However, the harsh environment nearly led them to starvation. Seeing their suffering, the indigenous people extended a helping hand. Yet, instead of gratitude, the Pilgrims later massacred these same Native Americans, seized their lands, and established the 13 colonies, a foundation built on betrayal and bloodshed. Conclusion: the Pilgrims were not pioneers of democracy, but rather a religious sect that escaped modernization and built their new society through violence. Britain's global dominance and colonial rebellion. Following the Seven Years' War, Britain emerged as a global superpower, securing dominance over North America and expelling French and Dutch influences. However, this victory came at a cost. The war drained Britain's finances, and the government sought to have the American colonies contribute to defense expenses. The colonial settlers, however, refused to pay, claiming taxation without representation. Using a minor conflict in Boston, where 5 people were killed, they manipulated public perception, branding the incident as the Boston Massacre to ignite anti-British sentiment. This carefully crafted propaganda campaign escalated tensions, leading to the American Revolution. Conclusion: the Revolution was not a noble struggle for freedom, but a movement fueled by propaganda and economic self-interest. France's revenge and the guerrilla warfare of the American Revolution. The American Revolution did not begin with a string of victories. In reality, the American forces suffered defeat after defeat, proving incapable of winning in direct engagements. However, France, seeking revenge against Britain, intervened behind the scenes. French forces disrupted British supply lines, making prolonged occupation difficult. The American army, unable to win conventional battles, resorted to guerrilla warfare, using hit-and-run tactics to exhaust the enemy. The British Army, composed largely of mercenaries with little loyalty, struggled to counter these persistent attacks. On the other hand, the American forces had no retreat. For them, defeat meant destruction. This desperate struggle, combined with France's formal declaration of war against Britain, eventually forced Britain to negotiate peace. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognized the United States of America, a country that owed its independence more to France's military strategy than to its own strength. Conclusion: the American Revolution was not won by heroism, but by French intervention and guerrilla tactics that wore down British forces. George Washington, the commander who kept his army from collapsing. George Washington is often revered as a military genius and national hero. However, his greatest achievement was not leading America to victory through battlefield brilliance. It was preventing his army from disintegrating despite continuous defeats. During the 8-Year War, the American army rarely won major battles. Yet Washington successfully kept his army together, prevented internal conflicts, and ensured they survived long enough for France to tip the scales in their favor. Conclusion: Washington's true strength was his ability to manage failure and maintain unity, not his skill as a battlefield commander. The U.S. was not a nation, but a loose confederation. At the time of its founding, the United States was not a unified country in the way we think of it today. Instead, it functioned more like the European Union, a collection of states with their own interests and governance. The U.S. Constitution was essentially a treaty between 13 states, creating a loose federation rather than a single nation. It would take decades of internal conflicts, economic struggles, and eventually a civil war to truly unite the country under a strong central government. Conclusion: the early United States was more of a confederation than a nation, and its unity was far from guaranteed. Final conclusion: the truth behind America's founding. The conventional narrative of the United States founding is a myth carefully crafted through propaganda. The uncomfortable reality. The Pilgrims were not freedom seekers, but a religious sect that failed to adapt to modernization. The American Revolution was fueled by economic disputes and propaganda, not purely by ideals of liberty. France played the decisive role in securing independence, while the American forces mainly relied on guerrilla warfare and survival tactics. The United States was not a nation at birth. It was a loose confederation with no strong central government. History should be judged by facts, not by the glorified myths of victors.